morning. Today we are looking at some conditions that are going to be turning cooler as we head toward the weekend. And so we want to go over what's happening here. Today is a day of transition, a day of change. And though we still have some pretty decent weather out there for a lot of us, we are looking at some things happening with that transition. A couple of places that have had some rain in the south. We've got the wind increasing coming up for tonight. And conditions that are just going to be, well, plain cool, feeling like fall in the forecast. So let's get right to it. Looking like fall, starting to look a little bit out there. I've seen some leaves changing a little bit here, and we are looking out for that possibility as we continue on in the forecast for the weekend this weekend. So I do want to go over really quickly what happened last night because this was so incredible, and it's nice to be talking about this with kind of a little bit of a smile because I have not heard any reports of it. The tornado that you see behind me here hurting anybody or damaging any structures. Yes, I know it took down some trees, and you know, we don't want our crops to get hit by a tornado either, but this view is pretty incredible because we got to see it from our sky cam down at the Dakota Magic Casino last night. This is at 5:40. This is when that screenshot was taken as we were going live. And you can see that tornado touching down here in that field there, and that's kicking up some debris there. So again, yes, it's from a scientific standpoint, it's really interesting, but we do not want to see tornadoes at the same time. The fact that we were able to see it on our sky cam, just, you know, sheer luck that happened there where we had a camera at a fixed location that a tornado just so happened to touch down at. So let's take a look at some of our reports that came in from this particular storm. Here's Wahpeton, Breckenridge, I-29. There's a Dakota Magic Casino here. And luckily that tornado wasn't a little farther east because it could have affected folks at the casino. So really thankful for that too. You can see several reports for that same storm. And then another area where we saw some tornadic activity reported near the Norcross area too later on. So looking at the, let's see here, looking at the check-in on this one of the images sent over, one of the reports came from the Rosshold area. Some trees snapped north of Rosshold, obviously, and a visible track that was spotted on the ground. So that means that the tornado likely cut through some vegetation, maybe swirled some dirt as well, that we were able, this person who reported this was able to see that. So again, the severe weather continues, and this was just like what we expected yesterday. You know, when we were talking about this yesterday, I mentioned that, you know, there's going to be one or two storms that turn severe. And when they do, there's the potential that they could be significant severe. And we couldn't rule out a tornado. This was pretty much in that area of low risk that we showed you yesterday as well. And we definitely saw a couple of them associated with that tornadic storm. So again, nice to put that behind us and that it, you know, didn't hurt anybody, at least according to the latest reports. So that's great to see here. So again, we're going to move on from that and take a look at, if my graphics will advance. Here we go. Our next concern, and that is the potential for some strong winds. And we're already starting to see wind pick up upstream from us. And we do have a wind advisory that takes effect at 1 o'clock this afternoon. It lasts until we get into the 8 o'clock hour. I'm going to pull this up full screen. And I'm actually going to try to reboot my computer here to make it work a little bit more smoothly for me. But several counties included in this, a lot of places along the international border from Roseau over to Candu, down into the Carrington and Jamestown area. And as you can see there in that little box there of information that we have the possibility for some wind gusts to 45 miles per hour. And now that I've rebooted my computer, we're right back at the start. So thanks for bearing with me here. We're going to get through this one. But again, looking at conditions that are going to be on that more windy side here for today. So let's take a look at our wind forecast. Okay, now we're behaving a little bit better here. So looking at winds today that are picking up. So this is for Fargo specifically. You can see even around the 1 o'clock hour, it might not be that windy, but we do see the wind pick up. We get into some 20s, we got some gusts into some 30s. The farther away you are from that advisory, the less windy it'll be. You'll be more seeing gusts to 25 to 30 miles per hour. But if you're in that advisory area, that's where we're talking about that 40 mile per hour gust range potential. and wind turning that northwesterly direction. And we know that means cooler air coming in a lot of times. So I want to take a look at our wind gust planner across the valley. So we're going to see those winds again picking up already here heading into midday in the northwest. We see more places into midday or into the afternoon hours where we're seeing some 30-mile-per-hour gusts, a west-northwesterly wind at that point. And then carrying on in the forecast as we head into the late night hours. So we're looking at 20s to 30s and perhaps even a little bit higher than that still at that point. We tend to see wind ease up a little overnight as temperatures cool and the air settles a little bit. So tomorrow morning starting into some teens and 20s. But as the day goes on, there is the potential for more gusts to get into that 30-mile-per-hour range, 20 to 30 coming up for Saturday evening. And then you can see by later Saturday nights, it starts to come down again. So once you be ready for that, National Weather Service mentioned something that I think is worth passing along too, is that we've had so many storms lately that over the course of the summer, there's a lot of damaged trees, branches, weakened trees, some trees that maybe had the branch break off, but it's just suspended in the tree still. It hasn't come down. So just a reminder that with these kind of winds, they're not intense, but 30, 40-mile-per-hour winds, it may take down some of those weaker branches or some of those branches that are still stuck in the trees. So be ready for that this weekend as this moves through. So let's take a look at our wind speeds right now. We're looking at winds that are, we'll go back a slide here really quick, looking at winds that are pretty light. Call them over to the east. That's as light as you can get. But over by Langdon, you can see we've got a gust now to 23 miles per hour. And as I expand the view, you can see this wind field here color-coded where we're looking at some 20 to 30-mile-per-hour winds. This is a gust to 36 in Regina there in southern Saskatchewan. And that wind field is moving our way. So let's take a look at our radar. I'll pull this up full screen so we can see a little bit better. We are looking at, on the radar, the rain showers, a couple of thunder showers, still lingering in places like Wadena, back down toward Elbow Lake. We'll zoom in a little bit more here. A little thunderstorm east of Alexandria. So if you're in that area or traveling down I-94, you may run into that. And then in addition to that, we are watching that depart. I'm going to just put this into motion. So you can see it's moving from west to east. So gradually, I would say in the next hour or two, we'll watch this clear the valley, but there will be some places in eastern parts of Minnesota that will still be seeing storms if you're traveling in that direction today. But you can see we're starting to clear out in the valley. We're starting to see more sunshine in the north and to the west. And that's definitely the case on our sky cams as well that I've been looking at. So this is what we're watching out for. We are seeing that next system moving in and developing. So you can see these swirling clouds here up into Manitoba and Saskatchewan. That low is eventually going to work its way south and east. And so as it does so, a reminder that wind and airflow is counterclockwise around centers of low pressure. So we've got this north wind, this northwesterly wind, that as this low moves east, this wind pushes south and east with it and moves right over the valley. And again, it's drawing down that cooler air to us as it does so. So while the low probably won't pass right overhead, its impacts will be felt here with the cooler air spilling in behind it with this next round. So here's a look at our temperatures right now. It's actually pretty nice out there. We're still in the 70s in a lot of places. 75 in Grand Forks, 73 in Fargo. May still feel a bit muggy for you. So we kind of have this bonus day of summer feel before the cooler air moves in. For this afternoon, more upper 70s to around 80 degrees. And then you can see by 4 o'clock, it's windy up in the north and west, and temperatures are responding to that. We're looking at some numbers that are going to be more into the 60s to around 70 for your forecast this afternoon in some of those areas. So it's possible, you see your forecast high more into midday, and then we start cooling down from there. So that's something to be aware of as we get ahead in the forecast for today. And tonight, it's our first night for this Friday night football, and we've got a lot of games going on tonight in eastern North Dakota. And so our call on the field for tonight is holding onto decent weather because it is still going to be pretty nice temperature-wise and dry too. So pretty decent. We're looking at 70s at kickoff for most areas. If you're in the Northern Valley, again, it's going to be a little cooler. And then by the time the game ends, more into the 60s. The problem is the wind. That's going to be a factor. So it might be a day and a night for, the ground game more so than the passing game here, and tried to avoid having to kick field goals here because of that wind being a factor for us for tonight. So just some of the games that I know that we plan to cover at Valley News Live. Well, a lot of important games, but a couple of the games that we are sending crews to: Grafton at Hillsboro, Thompson at Mayport CG, a Valley City game, important game against Velva, at Velva. Oakson and Langdon area, Edmore, Munich, a game, Thompson, Mayport, oh yeah, we already have Thompson, Mayport, CG, Botno at Lisbon, and Lemoore at Hatton Northwood, excuse me, Hankinson at Maple River, Wyndmere, Lidgerwood at Enderlin, South Border at Richland, and New Rockford, Cheyenne at Cavalier. So some big games, north and south, the Wyndmere Lidgerwood game, the South Border and Richland game in our Southern Valley, and then the Cavalier game, the New Rockford, Cheyenne, and Cavalier game all the way up along the border. So, that means there's going to be kind of a range of conditions. Those Northern Valley games, again, are going to be the windier ones. The farther south, not as bad. So keep that in mind for being out in the stands. While our temperatures will be more in the 60s by the end of the game, that wind might make it feel chillier. So you may want to have that jacket even tonight as we're looking ahead to the forecast. So there's your Friday night football forecast. Let's take a look at our sky cover for today. We're going to be seeing, again, these showers departing to the south and east. And as that does so in our hour-by-hour planner, you can see the clearing skies. But once we get into this evening, we'll start to see some clouds dropping in from the north. And that's associated with that low I just showed you. And so we're looking out for the potential for some clouds. You can see that I can't rule out a stray light sprinkle or a light shower into the nighttime hours. So one thing to keep in mind if you're going to be outside at a game, perhaps in the Northern Valley today. But most of us staying on the dry side. And again, that wind continuing to be a factor out of the northwest. And then moving on, let's move into the overnight hours and into Saturday morning, because we do have, as that low moves past us, it's going to, again, bring down some clouds and the potential for a passing shower, a sprinkle even, again, for Saturday morning. But you combine that with some breezy wind, some cool wind out of the northwest, and temperatures that are cooler. That's going to feel a little bit fall-like for, I think, a lot of people. And we've got a lot going on this weekend. We've got Potato Days starting up tonight in Barnesville and continues on Saturday. We've got the Street Fair in Grand Forks. We've got Move-In Day for a lot of our colleges this weekend, starting today and continuing through the weekend. I actually think our cool temperatures will be great for Move-In Day. That's a lot of heavy lifting you have to do, and it's nice to not have that heat to go along with that, so you can stay a little cooler while you're working up a sweat yourself. So here's a look at our air mass forecast. Again, today we're watching this cooler air move in. A reminder, yellows, oranges, reds, those are warm colors associated with warm air. And then the blues and greens, that's the cool air pooling in behind this low. And so you can see by Saturday morning, definitely into that cooler air coming up. And then moving on into Saturday night and into Sunday morning, you can see this blue here on the map. That's definitely cooler. The heart of this going to be more over Minnesota, and then this, again, shifts more into the Great Lakes, Lake Superior area. But we'll be in on it here in the valley. And once we get into Sunday afternoon, you can see that core kind of shifts a little farther east. That doesn't mean that it's going to be over for us. I think Monday morning could be quite cool, and even Monday during the day. And then eventually, as we go through time this week, this is Wednesday morning, you can see that we're more in the green than the blue. And then we see temperatures respond even more as we head into later in the week. Looks like my model's having trouble, but we do have those temperatures going up later this week based on what we're seeing. So that's the good news, because next weekend is Labor Day weekend. So we want some summer weather for Labor Day weekend, right? At least I do. I know a lot of folks want that kind of unofficial last blast of summer this weekend to feel like summertime. I do want to take a look at the weekend forecast. So again, we're going to zip through tonight into Saturday morning on our hour-by-hour planner. We're going to watch, again, some of these clouds and some of these showers affect us into Saturday, especially the closer you are to the low. So if you're up around the Lake of the Woods, Red Lake area, this is where we have the best chance for clouds and rain to affect us. Farther from the low to the south and east, or south and west, more likely to have some sunshine. So we'll watch this continue to kind of swirl around, driving down that cooler air. and that potential for some passing clouds and perhaps even a passing shower. Now, pausing on Sunday morning, you can see even Sunday, I can't rule out 1 or 2 stray showers, especially in the afternoon. But overall, we are looking at a little bit of a quieter day on Sunday, not as windy as what we're expecting for tonight and into Saturday. So let's take a look at our weekend temperatures. Not terrible, 60s. Someone was saying, this is not bad, and I know it's cool for Florida, but not here. Well, it's all relative. It's all what we're acclimated to. And right now we're used to 80s. And so this does feel cool right now. So we're talking about 60 to 70 degrees Saturday, similar on Sunday. Sunday may be cooler than Saturday. And we'll see some varying cloud cover. And again, that possibility for a stray shower coming up for Saturday. And then once we get into the rest of the week next week, here's the promising news. So again, warm today, cooling down Saturday and Sunday, and then next week, here we go. We're back into some 70s toward the end of the week. Not really a great shot of rain, too. Once we get through these little showers on Saturday, it's looking pretty quiet for most of next week. It's not really until we get closer to Labor Day that we might see a chance for some rain and thunder return, at least an organized chance. And you can see temperatures heading into the holiday weekend, also the last couple of days of August. September 1st is Labor Day. We're looking at temperatures closer to 80. And our average high for today's date is 80 degrees. So that's right around where we expect to be this time of year. So again, things are changing a little bit. We're seeing some signs, some hints at fall. We're getting a little taste of it this weekend with a couple of days here where we've got some cooler weather, and then it's back to some summer weather too. So some things to look forward to. I know we've got more schools heading back next week, and colleges heading back next week as well. So we'll of course be keeping you up to date on the forecast for those big events in students' lives. And of course, now football season started. We'll have your Friday night football forecast from here on out through the season. So lots going on this weekend. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the events you're heading out to. Just maybe have that jacket with you because you may need it. You may want it with temperatures as cool as they'll be. Oh, one thing I didn't touch on much is the temperatures in the 40s and 50s. So we're looking at 50s and some 40s heading into this weekend in the morning hours, but perhaps even cooler on Monday morning and Tuesday morning, more uniformly in the 40s on those days. So I want to be ready for that too. So some cool weather ahead, some fall-like weather ahead, and at least we get a break from the severe weather too. Have a great weekend.